Good morning, good morning, good morning. It is Coach Candy with Coffee Chats. Happy Monday, everybody. Man, we're coming off a long weekend. Hope y'all are doing well. Good morning, everyone. Grab a coffee, grab your tea, grab your juice, grab your water, grab whatever it is that gets you rocking and rolling, especially on a Monday after a holiday weekend. Good morning, Deb. How are you? Good morning. Good morning, Myra. Welcome, ladies. How was your weekend? How was the 4th? We had a long weekend. It was 4 days for a lot of us. So how you doing? Welcome back. Crazy that it's Monday again. I feel like I still need to sleep from the weekend. Oh, man. How is everybody doing? Good to see you guys. We are going to continue our discussion on how to destroy the noise, and we're still going to focus on the I in the noise today, which is the one of the baby I's, which is the inability to properly qualify and dequalify people and opportunities showing up. And so give everybody just a minute to get settled, and then we've got some others. Good morning, doing well, read a lot over the time off. Awesome, I love that. Can't wait to hear more about that. Tonight, spent time with friends. Excellent. Terry, good morning. Heather Ann, good morning. Wow, I haven't seen you in a long time. How are you, my friend? Welcome, everyone. Like I said, we're going to get into some more ways to destroy the noise this week. We are still on the I. And for those of you joining us for the first time, just so you know, I go live every morning. I wasn't here Thursday and Friday due to the holiday, but I am here Monday through Friday, 7:30. And we get into all kinds of juicy, fun, awesome topics, and we have been doing a lot around how to destroy the noise. And so when I say the noise, the N is really the negative self-talk, filters, and frames. The O is the opinions of others you choose to internalize. The I is the inefficiencies you're creating in your daily activities. And there's two baby I's inside of that. One is the inability to say no to the things that aren't for you. And we've talked about that a little bit the last couple weeks. Today, we're going to get into the other baby I, which is the inability to properly qualify or dequalify people showing up. And then we're going to get into the S, which is the shoulding you do all over yourself. And then the E, which is the excuses you create, perpetuate. It's Monday, y'all. It's after a holiday weekend. My mouth is not functioning so well. So anyway, let's jump right in. First of all, I'm glad to see all of you again. Hope you had a fantastic weekend. Looks like some of you weighing in had great weekends. So hope you had an opportunity to rest and celebrate and honor our country, honor who we are. It's the 4th of July, and it's a great time to just celebrate and really think about where we've come, who we are, and how we can show up as leaders more. I mean, there's so much going on in the world right now that makes things challenging and difficult. Good morning, Dina. And oftentimes it's easy to lose sight of what's most important. And I think right now more than ever, we need to, as leaders, to step up. And so as we go through some of these tools and these strategies and these ways to show up more purposefully and powerfully, it really is a way for us to stand in our voice, to be more intentional, to show up. Apologies, I've got some background noise going on apparently. But like I said, today we want to talk about how to properly qualify and dequalify people and opportunities showing up. Many of you may have done like sales training in the past or done some different things. Hello, good morning. And, it's always interesting to me when for those of you that don't know, I spent 20 years in corporate, and a good chunk of my career was in some sales aspect, whether it was in the business development side, whether it was supporting the sales teams, or in an account exec role myself where I was out pounding the pavement, really going out and selling large kind of comprehensive projects out into, different organizations and school districts and things that I was doing there. And what was always interesting to me is when you took sales training, they always taught you how to qualify clients. It was always about how do you properly qualify your clients? How do you know that they're the right people? But what was always amazing was they never had the flip side of the conversation, which was how do you dequalify? How do you weed out the people that aren't for you first, so you stop wasting time, money, energy, and resources. And what happens is too many times we get caught up in thinking everybody's for us, or thinking that every opportunity, every little shiny squirrel that shows up is something that we're supposed to grab onto. And what happens is that need to say yes to everything. And we talked about that a lot last week. If you're not saying no effectively, then you're allowing yourself to be a dumping ground and allowing everybody else to put their priorities and their agenda and their downward stuff on you, because you're not being mindful around how to manage your focus, how to manage your time, and how to effectively show up and play at your highest and best level. And the same goes for when people and opportunities are showing up. Oftentimes we get enchanted with something, or we romanticize something, or we just in the spur of the moment, because it's something that's kind of shiny and it looks pretty, or it's an opportunity that we're like, ooh, we jump in. And I know this for myself. I'm a highly intuitive and I'm an action taker. So sometimes I take action before I think about it. And it can cost me, and it has cost me. It's cost me in my life. It's cost me in my business, because I'm not giving it that space, that pause to say, is this really what I need now? Is this really something for me at all? And am I aligned with this, right? And so I think there's an opportunity for us to slow that down, because sometimes we're creating allies with people that are damaging our reputation or our brand. And it's interesting to me when I work with entrepreneurs, and the same thing goes for people that are working in organizations, or those of you that are in corporate. We don't realize that one bad seed can do detrimental damage to our image, to our brand, to our reputation, because ultimately your brand, who you are, is the brand itself, right? It's how you show up, how you serve others, how people receive you in a consistent manner. And when you're allowing something to come in that's out of alignment with you, it creates far more repercussions that are damaging than having someone that's aligned with you and giving them kind of the care to nurture them, to grow them in that space. And so I think about it even in terms of when you're hiring people, or when you're going out and seeking out new clients. Sometimes we get we put ourselves in a space that becomes fearful, right? We either think, oh, there's not going to be enough candidates for this pool, or, well, we got to fill this position, so we're just going to take anybody. We just need to fill it. We'll figure it out. It'll be fine. Or it's that client where we're like, we really need the money right now. Business has been down. We need to bring them in. And sometimes what we don't realize is us stepping out of that space to be really in alignment, to know our core values, to say, is this something that's going to be something we can build together? Is this a partnership? Is there the win-win-win, right? A win for them, a win for us, a win for everyone affected by the outcome. Or is there a red flag showing up somewhere, right? And so this is really the space to start to pay attention to those red flags. And so as I'm talking about this, I'm curious, what are some of the things that show up sometimes that are red flags for you? How do you know when there's that kind of intuitive, maybe I should reconsider that? Or how do you know that when you step forward and you've taken on the wrong person to bring into your inner circle, or the wrong person in your organization, or the wrong, client in the mix? What shows up for you when those red flags are kind of starting to, like, the whistles are going off? What shows up? I'm curious, because we all know the signs, and they can be different for different people, but we have those moments where we're like, crap, right? I know I just stepped forward in a space that is out of congruency with who I am. It's out of alignment. And so I'm curious, where have there been some opportunities, or how do you experience that when that shows up, when there's this space of, I probably should have thought about that more, or, you know what, I knew all along that wasn't the right space for me. And I know I've taken on, we all get in that space, or we have in the past gotten in that space where our intuition's saying one thing, right? We get the gut check that says, ooh, yes. And then what happens is, or the gut check says, I'm not so sure. There's something showing up that makes me uncomfortable. And instead of leaning in and listening to what that is, we jump in and we're like, oh, we'll figure it out. It's fine. I'm just being, overcautious, whatever. We justify it. We rationalize it. And so one of the things I want to do, and tomorrow I'm going to give you kind of a framework. And I think I've shared this before, but it also applies in this framework as well. Today, I just want to start the conversation about, what does that look like? What happens when you bring somebody in that if you would have properly dequalified? And sometimes we need to sit there and we need to pragmatically evaluate, because sometimes we let our heart, or we let that kind of that shiny squirrel thing get the momentum going, that we forget to look back and look at it from more quantitative or pragmatic standpoint that says, let me ask myself a series of questions, right? Let me ask myself, is this really going to give me an immediate present value? Is this going to be something long-term that's going to provide future value? Is this something that the opportunity costs are going to be far greater than the return that I'm trying to receive? Is this something that's going to completely flip my lifestyle on its head, where I find that my time is being sucked away, or I'm having to do cleanup too much, or, you know, when I think about it, because I have a lot of conversations with some of my clients who have large organizations around the amount of energy and time they spend on their what I'll call C players. And so, you know, everybody knows what an A player is, right? Or even a B player. And then every organization has their C players. And oftentimes it's interesting to me how the C players can be the sacred cows. And so you get the comments that'll say, oh, that's just so-and-so, or, oh, we know, we're going to keep coaching that person or giving the tools. And what they don't realize is that's the person that needs to be moved out. That's the person that's not aligned with who that organization is. They're not hungry. They are the hole in the boat that's going to sink the boat at some point. And so instead of putting all that energy and focus on a C player, give that energy and focus to your A plus and B, your A players and your B plus players, those that want to elevate their game, because those are the ones aligned to your mission and your purpose and your values. And so it's amazing to me because a lot of times we want to convince ourselves that we can fix something, right? And so we put all our energy in something that wasn't for us in the first place. And so I'm curious about, oh, Deborah, excellent. It's more of a feeling that I don't get until after being around them a bit. Interesting, right? So sometimes you're like, I love that discussion, because you think about it, sometimes we don't know until we walk away and we're like, ooh, something about that doesn't feel right. Because part of that is you're giving yourself the space. When you're not interacting with them directly, you are giving yourself the space to say, let me replay that scenario. How do I feel about that? How do I feel about that person in our alignment and where we're at, right? Or that opportunity. And this is where the power of the pause becomes so incredibly important, is the fact that if you're just jumping in and saying yes, before you've had to, what Deborah's talking about, being able to walk away from that for a minute, engage, how am I feeling now that they're not here, when that maybe shiny and that charm and that charisma or that whatever's going on, how do I feel about it when I drop in and I really think about everything that we talked about, or everything that showed up, or what's missing for me, or where are there potential red flags? And it's one of the reasons why, you know, and I've had some people, they'll hire somebody right on the spot. I'm like, I know you love this person, and I'm going to challenge you to give it space. I'm going to challenge you to give yourself a couple days in between and come back and ask a different kind of question, because it's like that space of, it's amazing to me, people that'll get into relationships and and Jay Sheedy, I don't know if you've ever watched any of his videos, or he's amazing. He has a video out there that talks about how reckless it is when people fall in love, you know, overnight, and they show up and they're immediately, it's a space of infatuation. There's this honeymoon period, and we all show up when we're trying to have our best foot forward, when we're being mindful, when we're being present. But sometimes we need the space to see what happens when that momentum, that energy, that like initial, ooh, I want to impress, goes away. What's under the surface? And you know, that happens in relationships, that happens for hiring, that happens with the shiny objects that show up. If we're not giving it a space to say, okay, I know that felt really good in that moment, but now that I'm away, there's a couple things that are kind of nagging on me and bothering me. And it's amazing how many times I've had conversations. And so, Deb, I love that you shared that, because it's amazing how many times I've had conversations with people that it's, you know, after they're like, you know, if I really thought about it, there was something there that was kind of off. There was something, but because they jumped too soon, they didn't give that space to breathe. And so this is where you can get in that space where you can really feel into it and say, okay, I need to see what's my gut telling me, and then do that pragmatic lens that says, all right, let's look at the points of alignment. Let's look at what's the outcome we're trying to achieve. And is this something that's going to help get me there? Or is this something that's going to require far more of my energy and time, because I'm going to have to fix a bunch of stuff? And so we have to put ourselves in that position to be much more mindful and present. And it goes back to what I talked about last week. We have to be able to say no. We have to be able to say, no, that doesn't feel right now. I have a couple of different layers. And I've been working with several organizations right now that are in a hiring frenzy, right? There's just a lot of opportunity, whatever. And we've talked about kind of this 2 or 3 phase path to evaluate their people. You know, oftentimes I'll say I can come in as a third party and do a check as well so that I'm not as invested, because sometimes what happens is our emotion or our belief in somebody or our just genuine, I like that person, and we don't say, but can that person really deliver and do the job that's required? And so when you think about that, that applies in every aspect of your life. It applies whether or not you get this great opportunity that you're like, God, I feel like I want to say yes, but I'm not sure. So then give yourself the space to say, hey, can I have 24 hours to think about this? Can I have, you know, till the end, through the weekend to think about whether or not this is the right fit, and then allow yourself to sit in that space to ask some of those questions, you know. And that's part of what we're going to get into even more tomorrow is like you get onto that space of, on a scale of 1 to 10, what's the present value of if I engage with this? What's this going to yield right now? Is it going to be something that's joyful? Is it going to be something that's fulfilling? Is it going to be something that's going to help me be successful? Is it going to be bringing abundance? Whatever the metric is that you're looking for. So if it's in a relationship, is it going to be something that's easy and joyful and it feels natural, or is it something that's going to require all this push and work and like it's drama and games and whatever? The business, is it something that's going to actually yield some return in my business? It's going to be meaningful and productive and abundant. And then you look at the same thing on the future scale. So a lot of times when I talk about present value, I'm talking about, you know, in the next 6 to 12 months, like really right now, the present here. And then when you're looking, you know, kind of 12 months to 18, 24 months out, you start thinking about, okay, what's the long-term present value? It might even be 3 to 5 years out. I personally don't typically look much beyond that for a future value, only because for me, the value of money and how quickly things can return in today's environment with technology, that's like, it's costing me more than what I'm getting back. And so I think about where I want my returns, but that's a metric for me, right? Then you look at opportunity cost, because every decision has the counter side of it, right? So what's the risk? What's it going to cost me? What kind of energy, what kind of time do I need to put into this? What do I need to personally invest in terms of my own emotions or space or whatever that might be? And then you look at lifestyle. What's it going to do to your lifestyle? Is it going to mean you have to overhaul things, or you're not going to see your family for the next month? What does that require? And then you get into that space of, what is my intuition telling me? Do I get those knots in my stomach, or are they like excited butterflies? And there's a difference, right? And sometimes we're not taking the time to really lean in and listen to that. And so oftentimes what happens is, part of the reason why your calendar is so jammed up is because you are inadvertently saying yes to things that you should have dequalified. And so qualifying things is great, going through and saying, okay, does it have all these parameters? Yes. And then you need to go on to the side to dequalify. And I tell a lot of people when I work with them that I actually look to dequalify first. If you, and those of you that have been clients of mine, those of you that work with me know that there's several intake forms and assessments and things you do to have conversation to see whether or not we're the right fit, because that process is actually to dequalify people before it's actually qualifying people. I want to get rid of the things that aren't aligned with me. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I just mean I know who my clients are. I know who I serve. And there's questions around, do they have the right commitment level? Are they willing? And those of you that have worked with me know, I require you to do work. This isn't like you just get to show up and I'm going to do this for you, or you get to show up and magic wand and pixie dust is going to change your life. There's real effort and energy you need to put forth, and you're going to be held accountable in that. And so I need to be able to gauge whether or not people have that propensity, have that appetite, are able and willing to be in that space, because that right there, if they don't have the commitment level that's required to do the work, or they don't have the ability to be held accountable by themselves and by a coach, then I need to graciously say, I don't think we're the right fit. And I've done that because when I haven't, and I had this past year an example in my business where I didn't, and it cost me, it cost me significantly, time, money, energy, a lot of headaches, strife. It got to be a pretty intense situation. And learning opportunity to remind myself to drop in that space to say, I know who I am, I know my core values. And so this goes back to that space of, ultimately before any of this, when you look at the noise, when you're looking at how do I create the strategies on what I need to do, it comes back to knowing who you are first, being able to truly say yes to yourself, and know your core values, know who you are, what you represent, represent? What are the big priorities that you're moving towards? So then you can say, does this fit or not? And you can do that from a couple different qualifiers. But I really urge people to think about dequalifying things first. Look for all the ways there could be potential red flags so that you don't get enamored. You don't get into a space where you're only looking at the positive. And I am saying this as someone who, growing up, people called me Pollyanna Sunshine, because I always look at the world through rose-colored glasses, and I always want to believe the best in people. And yet, I also have become more mindful, pragmatic, and idealistic around I need to properly vet people out and vet out opportunities so that I'm not chasing myself down, running down rabbit holes, chasing people or chasing things that weren't meant for me. And so when we start getting into some of your what, why, and who, and we talk about your who, and we talk about your camps, it's the same kind of thing. You've got to know who are your people and who aren't your people. And it's okay that they're not your people. And you can send out love and say, you know what, I wish you the best, and it's great. And if we ever do our alignment's great, that I welcome you and we can have those conversations. But right now, it's not a right fit, because these are the ways that I work with people. These are the ways that things show up. And you get into that space where you can very compassionately, very graciously say, thank you, and this isn't for me right now. So is that making sense for all of you? I'm going to stop for a minute, see what's showing up, what thoughts, what you're thinking, because I'm kind of like, man, I'm just kind of on a roll for a Monday morning. Didn't have Thursday and Friday to talk to you guys, so now I'm like, right? But I want you to think about that. I want you to think about this idea of dequalifying, filtering out or vetting out the things that aren't for you, your organization, aren't for, your big priorities, aren't for how you want to be spending your time and your focus. And so I'm curious, what's showing up? What thoughts do you have about this? Is this helpful this morning to kind of get us ramped up and going on a Monday morning? Can't believe it's Monday again. Here we go, right? Rock and reek. And so just want to hear from you guys, see how you guys are doing this morning. No, quiet. Does that make sense? Is that helpful to think about how to dequalify things before? And we're going to get into this a little bit more. Like I said, I'm going to give you some tools tomorrow to kind of vet that out even further. The big thing is really looking at some of those scales. And so you can create whatever those scales are or not, but you can come up with a space that is really about what are the criteria, right? And for every situation or every person, you're going to have different things that might be a criteria depending on what's the win-win-win you're looking for. And how do you vet that out? How do you vet that out appropriately, right? And so hoping that helps you guys a little bit as we get into more of the noise and what that looks like. These strategies are ways to help you be more mindful and be more present in terms of how you're showing up and how you're leading. And so, like I said, we're going to dig into that a little bit. As you guys know, or some of you that jumped on, this is my birthday month. So through this week, if you sign up for the Yes Monthly program, which by the way, we have a live training call tonight. They are recorded. There's a whole portal, but I go live twice a month with some really deep training. Tonight, we're really going to start getting into money mindset and money mastery and really looking at our programming and limiting beliefs and things around that that might be inadvertently getting in our way of attracting the right things and qualifying the right things to us that are going to open up more abundance and prosperity and wealth and opportunity for us. Deb, I love that. I've been doing that more in my business. It helps. It does, right? It helps when you get more mindful about what the criteria is that you want, when you dequalify and filter and vet out those things that don't fit, and then really can put all your energy and focus on the things that do. It makes a significant difference. And when you get clear about that and don't become afraid of hurting someone's feelings or saying no, it can be quite powerful. And like I said, it being my birthday month this month, July, actually Friday is my birthday, so we're gonna do a little birthday discussion on Friday as well. Just know that through this week, if you sign up for Yes Monthly, which is my monthly membership program, it's only $97 a month, you get 2 live trainings, 90-minute trainings where we're going deep. Like you get the tools, I'm on the board, we're going into some really big discussions. And like I said, tonight we're gonna get into money mindset in some really deep ways. And then I do a Facebook Live twice a month as well. So you basically get me every week. If you sign up yet through this week, you will get gifted as a birthday gift from me, 2 of my other programs. You will get my Jumpstart Your Yes, which is really diving into the destroy the noise pieces at a much deeper level. And so we break this down, each one, there's a module for each of the pieces of the noise, and it really gets in there. And then the other one is my Yes Ideal Calendar. So for those of you that are struggling to properly prioritize, those of you that are struggling with your own focus management, not time management. Time management says you're watching the clock. Focus management says you're watching your impact. Just know that I'm gifting both of those as birthday presents from me to you for my birthday through Friday, or through this weekend actually. So if you're interested, sign up. You get all of the back training, you get all of the additional bonuses and tools. You also get the half-day workshop that I did probably about a month ago now. That's also in that portal. So if it's of interest to you, check out the Yes Monthly program. Just know that there's still 2 free gifts for me to say happy birthday to me and anyone else celebrating in July. But I am gifting those to you. Don't miss that opportunity. There's a lot of really juicy, meaty stuff in that training as well. Terry, I joined a parents group on Facebook as well to contribute, learn, and potentially market to them. I took a huge dequalify step with that group. I don't want parents who spend time bashing their kids. I may take their kids. I don't want them. You know, that's really important. I think we need to know, and sometimes we need to sit, Terry, thank you for that. I think we need to sit in a space and actually sometimes write it out. What don't we want? We've got a culture that we talk about all the time. I don't want this, I don't want that, I don't want this. And we need to be mindful that we're not spending a lot of time and energy in that space, because then that's what we inadvertently attract to us. That being said, to what Terry's saying, we need to get really clear on what we don't want so that we can get really clear on the dequalifier, the vetting, the filter to say, okay, if any of these show up, no. I just know that that's not a space I know where that leads, not going there. Because then what we can say is, okay, if this is everything I don't want, then what is it I do want? And we can get really clear about how to fine tune that and like sharpen that lens so that not only is that what we're looking for, we're attracting, we're bringing in, but that's what we're manifesting on an energetic and vibrational level, because we can start to actively visualize what that feels like, what that looks like. And we know instantly, we're like, I know what this feels like. If any of these show up, I'm like, okay, you know what? And maybe it's if two of the 5 of these show up, out, because it might be one. Sometimes there's one that you're like, okay, I get it. That could be workable. That's not a bad thing. You get to qualify. It's your scale, right? But you know if certain things are showing up, you're like, absolutely not. I know where this is going to go, and this person's not ready. And to your point, Terry, it's important, right? I need to know for the work that I'm doing who I work with and who I don't. And it's the same thing with me. I don't work with anyone that bullies anyone. I don't work with anyone who has I'm not taking responsibility for my life attitude, which again, that was a situation I had this past year. I allowed myself to not follow my process, and I brought something in that cost me dearly in terms of time, money, energy, effort, just level of, well-being, because I didn't listen to that space where I was very clear this person was not going to take responsibility for their own actions, which in turn bit me in the ass later on. And so huge lesson learned, because again, I teach things I need to keep learning and reminding myself of as well. And so I say that as somebody who's lived this and breathed this on the other side. When you don't honor that for yourself, again, not everybody's for you. And I think sometimes we have a thought that says, but I want everybody to like me. I want everybody to know that I could bring value to them. And that's not the case. You're not for everybody, and everybody's not for you. And we have to be okay with that, because it's the only way that you can start being in a position like Terry's talking about, where you can really filter that out and you can dequalify and you can vet the people out. It's not to say that you don't love them, you don't wish them well. You're just not going to love on them and give them your most precious commodity, which is your attention and your time. And so I want you to think about that. Your attention, your focus, your presence, and your time are the 2 most valuable commodities in the world. You can never get them back. And so you have to be more mindful. If you ever want to have a space where you're creating your ideal calendar, if you want to ever have a space where you are positioned to play at your highest and best level on a continuous, ongoing basis, be more purposeful, be more intentional, being the leader that you truly want to be to create the value, the change, the impact, the influence, then you have to start saying no to things that are not for you. You need to realize that you need to be protective of where and how you use your attention and time. And until you do that, you are not properly dequalifying or qualifying the people and opportunities showing up. So I want you to think about that. Hopefully that gets you fired up to start your Monday, to be more present about how you're offering your time and attention. I really want you to think about the fact that this is, and when we get into the money discussion tonight, when we talk about that programming, that mindset, we're going to talk about a lot of your own self-worth and value, and we're going to help you look at investing in you in a different perspective, because a lot of what we teach in our culture is all around how to protect assets versus how to actually invest and grow. And so if you are interested in those conversations, come check it out. Come join us for the Yes Monthly training tonight. Sign up, get on board with that. It is a game changer in terms of getting those tools. These are things that I worked with my money coaches to get past some of the things that were holding me back. It's allowed me to create deeper filters around how I qualify and dequalify, because I know what kind of return I want and what I'm willing to put in to get that return and what I'm not willing to put in. And some of that is sacrificing anything that sacrifices my core values, anything that is wasting my time or attention. And so when you can get more mindful of that, you can show up and be more, good morning, Robin, more intentional and more purposeful in that space. Because if you truly want to show up and serve at your highest and best level, you must get better. And I say that as a must, non-negotiable. You must get better at how you qualify and dequalify people and opportunities showing up. You've got to get comfortable in the know. And not a problem, Robin. It's all going to be recorded. You can come back and check this out. We're just glad that you're here now. So I want you to think about that. If you truly have a desire to create more impact, to create more influence, to show up and serve at your highest and best capacity, to be a voice for change, for opportunity, for anything, to have more fulfillment and joy in your life, you need to start getting comfortable with no. You need to start honoring and protecting your time, because it is a sacred pool. It's a sacred resource that you can't replenish. You can't replenish that space of your time and your attention. And so be really protective of how and where you choose to do that, and be okay graciously and compassionately saying no. And so that is my 2 cents worth for Monday morning after a holiday weekend. Like I said, tomorrow I'm going to give you some more tools in that space. I think I'm going to adjust some things on these calls. I don't know if I'm going to keep with the topics each month where it's Monday mindset, Tuesday this, whatever. I think we're just going to show up and have some conversation. I think we're going to go where we need to go. And I want a little bit more open space to bring whatever topics feel right, because I want to lean into that and not feel like I've got to stay in a box or stay in a lane to say, we're going to do this on this day. So who knows what's going to come up when we talk about some of these things. And again, if there's topics, if there's things you want to delve into deeper, you want some perspective on, you've got questions, send me a message, post it in the group, post it in the thread. I want to be helpful. I want to be here and serve you. And again, if it speaks to you, join us. Tonight is going to be a big training. We're going to jump in and we're going to spend a lot of time there, but on some money mindset, millionaire mastery, right? Getting ourselves into that space of abundance and prosperity, because whether you think you do or not, every single person has a money story, and every single person has something that's limiting or holding them back in some capacity in terms of what they could be bringing into their life. And so I want to help you clear that deck and reset it with some amazing tools and strategies. And again, sign up this week and you get 2 birthday gifts from me to celebrate the fact that this is my birthday month and this is my birthday week. And so there are a couple things Thursday and Friday. I have some things for sure that are topics, and then we're going to kind of feel into tomorrow and Wednesday. So with that, everybody, those of you that are new, welcome. We so look forward to having you join us every morning. I'm here at 7:30, Monday through Friday. For those of you that show up every day, as always, I just love seeing you. I love having you here. I love the discussions. Thank you for your contribution. Thank you for being open and vulnerable and sharing your realities and truth. And just know that I love you. Oh, thanks. I love that, Terry. Thank you so much. I love you all. And go out and have a really amazing, productive, present, and vibrant week. It's Monday. It's a fresh start. Go out and be very deliberate, very intentional, and very purposeful about how you choose to show up and serve. With that, I love you. I will see y'all tomorrow. Bye.